Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's Statistician to the Stars. He's the man of 1,008 aliases. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
And we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, sports, and more. This is a fusion edition of the ODPH, and we definitely have a lot of topics to talk about in the parlay today. But, Pat, after the show, where should everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swing on over to social media links. They're all right there on the front page. You swing over to the website, you find out about the TeePublic store. You check out the blogs. You check out the Classifieds, which has friends of the show, such as 3FM Podcasts, Nerd Initiative, Dragon Master Games, and more. You can also find the directory. So if you need a new podcast player for this show, it's right there. Because, Pat, how many providers are we on?
797,523.
And who's your source?
Trust me, bro.
So wherever you're listening to ODPH on, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. Leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. I am told it helps the algorithm of the show, so who am I to argue? Last but certainly not least, we have a fantastic music section, which has such musicians as Brian Wolf and the Howlers.
Brian Wolf, new album coming soon.
Yeah, apparently if you are a patron of his, it's out there right now.
Hey.
So it will be coming out shortly to the masses, so you definitely want to make sure you sign up and follow and get that into your music collection as soon as possible. Also, check out Tom Jolo, who's playing a lot of shows here locally in the 607. Definitely don't miss him. He's amazing live. I'm just going to put that out there. Second Suitor, Floodlands, Shout of the Robots. Basically, if it's anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at ODPHpodcast.com. And if you're using hashtags on social media, why not use the hashtag ODPHpod? Kicking off this edition of the show, we have to do a little recap and send off for the latest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, this has been a show that definitely came and went very quickly.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, 6 episodes. Not a fan of the format.
Neither am I.
We have been very vocal about that here on the ODPH.
Not just Marvel.
No, not just Marvel. Anything that is going on with Disney Plus, because quite frankly, that is a lot to digest in one period of time.
Especially as adults with lives.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be doing episodic television. 3 in a day is not good. Either do the whole series at once or don't do it at all. That's kind of our editorial about that. But, Pat, what are we going to be talking about?
Season 1, episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Ironheart.
Yes, the Black Panther Wakanda spinoff starring Dominic Thorne as Riri Williams, the inventor who makes her own Iron Man-esque suit, but definitely takes a different path of that of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Goes back home to Chicago, where she finds a little more trouble than she is expecting. So this one definitely had a lot of hype behind it. We had been waiting quite a few years to figure out when everything was going to be coming out. Luckily, it did come out, and like we said, the only drawback we've really had was with the scheduling for it.
Yes.
Because obviously it is over and done with. I understand Marvel has a monster movie of their own coming out shortly.
Yeah, you might have heard of it.
Well, when you think about it, the movies kind of dictate the pace of everything. So the timing of the show, I think, had they waited on this per se after Fantastic Four First Steps, I think it would have been better.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad about it because at least we had it out because we have been waiting to see more Riri on the big screen or small screen in this case since 2022. So it was finally met. We did cover episodes 1 through 3 previously. We did not get a chance to last week because, well, scheduling happens, or as we like to say, Pad, reasons. So that's why we only had one ODPH last week. But fear not, we are going to be recapping it right now. So that said, if you're new to the ODPH, once again, thank you for checking us out. It means the absolute world to us. What we like to do is give you a spoiler-free statement about what we're going to be discussing. After that spoiler-free statement, you have to be like the Clash. Do you stay or do you go? If you stay through the countdown, we go deep dive into spoilers. We talk theories. We really cover everything. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, you have been forewarned. So either at the end of the countdown, you pause the episode, because that's what I say, just download it. Go watch, get caught up, and then jump back into the episode. Or you stay right through it and then join in the conversation, because we are really going to hold nothing back when it comes to this. So that said, Pat, give me your spoiler-free statement of episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Marvel Television and Disney Plus's Ironheart.
So, I just want to get this out of the way. I thought the show overall was okay. It didn't blow me away. It didn't sit me going, wow, I need to go rewatch that, and rewatch Black Panther Wakanda Forever and go right into this. Kind of unlike, Andor did, because there was a certain part of me that wanted to go rewatch Andor and go right into Rogue One, but were not for the fact I've got a life and a whole lot going on that prevented me from doing that. There wasn't really a part of me that wanted to do this. And for these final 3 episodes, it left me wanting more. And I don't mean I can't wait to see what's going to happen next, because I do wonder that to a certain degree. And it didn't leave me wanting I can't wait for these characters to show up again, because I do want that. I love this universe. I love, all the characters in it, and they're all incredible. But it left me wanting more in that I was expecting more. That it really there wasn't anything necessarily in there that blew me away. There were some points in it that I was like, oh, wow, I like what they're doing with this. I like the kind of twist they're giving this, and we're not following what you might expect to be the typical path somebody might follow with, their first steps, no pun intended, at being a major player in the superhero game. So it was fine. It didn't necessarily blow me away, and it kind of left me wishing for a little bit more.
Going into the series, I really wasn't sure what to expect. Obviously, we knew Ryan Coogler was an executive producer. We know his work from Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. We knew that the character of Riri Williams has not had a really long history in the comics per se, as far as like a regular series.
Correct.
Has been featured on a few books here and there. So this is almost a wide open playbook. And to see the direction they went in, especially involving another character from the Brian Michael Bendis era of Marvel, and that's Parker Robbins, the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos, we knew this was going to be a really interesting setup with magic versus science.
Mm-hmm.
What we got for the first 3 episodes, I mentioned we really needed to land the show. We really needed a lot, because for being the limited time that we had, there was no room for filler episodes. Out of the 6, I felt that there were 2 that were fillers, and I really thought that hurt. But when we got to the finale, I thought the finale was very strong. I don't think it is the greatest finale I have seen.
No.
But one thing I will say is I applaud the show for taking risks. This wasn't like any other MCU show we saw, but I also feel that this was not a revolutionary game changer in its own right.
I looked it up. Riri Williams debuted in Invincible Iron Man #7 in 2015, and that issue came out on March 2nd, 2016. So she's been around in Marvel Comics for less than 10 years.
She's been featured on a few teams.
Sure.
I want to say New Champions is coming to mind.
Sure.
And one of the incarnations of that lineup. But like I say, to have a regular series, I don't think we've had one featuring her to my knowledge. We've had some limited series here and there, but I don't remember anything going long term.
Right.
So that's why I say we have a wide open playbook.
Yeah.
And I thought for what we had, they really did a fine job with it.
Yeah.
But I kind of have the same sense I did with Moon Knight. That there was a lot of time going on that I say, minus a couple filler episodes, I thought it would have been a really tight series.
Yeah, it's a good introduction for the character if you're not at all familiar.
Yes.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever kind of whets the appetite and is, I guess you could say, the appetizer. And then this show is kind of like the entree, if you will, where, it's not necessarily the main course. I'm sure that'll come later, but this is just kind of like, okay, we introduced the character. We kind of gave you an idea what she's about. Why don't we start digging deep and peeling back the layers on this onion with this series is kind of what it felt like.
It kind of did, but like I say, how they ended it, they took a risk. I have some questions about it.
I do too.
And I also have some questions about the future of when we're going to see Riri back.
Yeah.
Because going into that finale, I thought it was probably the strongest episode they had of the season.
Yeah.
However, it was not perfect in my opinion. But did it leave me wanting more? Well, I guess you're going to have to sit through the spoiler talk to really hear what I have to say about that. So, Pad, that being said, 3, 2, 1. Let's take a deep dive about this.
Yeah, so like I said, I really thought that these 3 episodes weren't great. For me, the first 3 were better in certain aspects, so I'm going into this with the mentality of like, okay, the first 3 didn't necessarily blow me away, but I left room for improvement. I wasn't necessarily writing the show off, and I came into this kind of with an open mind of like, all right, let's see where this goes. Because like you said, the playbook in the field was wide open for where they could go, because this is the thing we need to, I guess, reiterate a couple times. We don't know what the future of this character is. Mm-hmm. We know that they're setting, by that I mean Kevin Feige and the powers that be, are setting up for Young Avengers. At no point was Young Avengers mentioned in the show like I think we figured it would be.
Right.
So we don't know if she's going to go Young Avengers. We don't know if she's going to go off on her own. Like, it's kind of a wide open, which is nice in a certain way, because there wasn't that stinger. I was waiting for that mid-credit scene of somebody showing up and kind of teasing what the future is or where she's going to go next in her adventure. We didn't really get that. So I thought it was a decent ending, and I liked the kind of twist they gave, with what she did and some of the choices she made, because I genuinely didn't see that coming, with somewhat of her intellect. I figured she'd been a little smarter than that, but, that kind of left me wondering where it's going to go, and I'm interested to see.
I thought for what we got, this was a very good series.
Yeah.
And in no way, shape, or form does it deserve any bad press. In any way. I really thought they did a fine job about establishing Riri. And the main point, which you're going to hear me say a lot during this segment, is they took chances.
Yeah.
And I respect that, because I think in the MCU, you have to take chances.
At this point, yes.
Yeah, otherwise, it's the cookie-cutter mentality that we've said with Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
We've seen this before. So I wanted to see something different with the show, and we did. I will say I was very surprised at the amount of magic involved.
Yeah, I was too, to a certain degree.
Yeah, because really, Riri hasn't been known to dabble in that side of things for the most part.
Right.
Like,
they cross paths.
They've crossed paths, sure, but to the extent that happened here,
right,
with this show, I thought at the end of it, we're really teasing the magical, or dare I say, the Darkhold universe of the MCU, because we were introduced to a few characters that are heavily tied to that side of things.
I'll say, Chris, the number of times they were name-dropping Dormammu?
Well, that makes sense because of the hood.
Sure.
Because in the comics, the hood's cloak is that of Dormammu's.
Oh, okay.
So that made perfect sense. I had no problem. In fact, I love the fact they kept throwing it in there, because obviously, if you know anything about the Brian Michael Bendis run with him, you know that Parker Robbins sold his soul to Dormammu for power, and then look at what happened. So that made sense. No issues there whatsoever. I just thought that for where we went, especially being introduced to a few new characters that deal heavily with magic, we got away from the magic versus science conflict, which I thought was the strong point of this series.
Yeah.
Into this really felt like a setup for something more.
And we didn't necessarily find out what that is.
Right.
Which isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
But when you're going to tee it up like that, you better hit the ball.
Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
They didn't hit the ball with this.
Yeah.
And when they did not hit the ball, this is the problem we had, because this felt like a prequel for something else by the time it was all said and done. And I don't think that's fair to Riri as a character.
Right.
But if this is going to have a larger payoff later, okay, but we are taking a scenic route to get there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because I kind of draw it back to, and obviously I'm making this comparison because, well, they both wear iron suits. You think back to the first Iron Man movie, and you think back to that mid-credit scene, or I can't even remember if it was end credit scene, whatever it was, where Sam Jackson shows up, and he name drops Avengers.
Yeah.
Obviously, we knew where it was going at some point. We didn't know when it was going to get there, and we didn't know how we were going to get there, but we knew somewhere along the road the Avengers were coming.
Yes.
Obviously, with this, it felt like they were getting ready to set something up, and they're putting all the pieces there, and then they got bored of it and walked away.
Yeah, I agree with you. But this is where things are going to get quite interesting now, because depending on if the series comes back, because they don't know.
Yeah.
We've touched upon this before. plans were in place when Jonathan Majors was still Kang the Conqueror.
Yes.
And with him not being the Conqueror anymore, and we've now pivoted to Doom and Doomsday and Secret Wars.
And whatever comes after.
Yeah, we don't know, because the only things we can say for certain, we have Fantastic Four First Steps.
Yep.
We have Wonder Man. I'm not counting the animated series. I'm just
Right,
talking. I'm
right.
just talking live action.
Right.
We have Wonder Man coming out in December.
Right.
We have next spring, late winter, Daredevil Born Again.
Yep.
Season 2, and then, but that's kind of its own.
Which will
separate.
be the second show in MCU history, current MCU history, to get a second season outside of Loki.
Right, depending on if you want to call it the second season or part 1, part 2.
Yeah, true.
Then we know Spider-Man 4 is happening.
Yep.
And then obviously whenever scheduling aligns for Avengers Doomsday, we know that's coming, and then a year later Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
In between, we don't know what's getting set up. We can speculate all we want. Trust me, we're going to speculate here.
Well, and plus we don't know. We're not going to know for a while because, well, they're skipping San Diego this year.
Right, which makes sense, because what are you going to say?
Yeah.
You're not going to tip the hand of what you're doing for the rest of the year.
They did that once and it didn't work.
No, it didn't work. Like I say, you could come out with a full arsenal, but then everybody's going to ask when the Blade movie's coming out.
Oh boy. I dare you to ask Mahershala Ali that question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. See what happens.
Oh, exactly. Because when they start teasing projects that don't happen, this is when the fan base gets very, very angry,
right,
and gets very rabid.
Well, it's like when they, like I said before, like they teased Black Panther 2, and then T'Challa died in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, what does this mean for Infinity War 2? Or Black Panther 2? He goes, I don't know, I'm dead. And he had to sit there and say that for like a year.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Yeah. They tried it once. Didn't work.
No, that's the whole thing, because when they have to balance out, and we're talking when Chadwick Boseman was alive,
right,
and saying this,
right.
We just want to speculate for the timeline. This is when, the actors can't say what's going on because they are not allowed to obviously talk about stuff that's happening.
They went to the Kevin Feige school of interviews, unlike Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm. So they don't want to have that mess happen again. So I understand why they're skipping San Diego. That's not a problem for me.
Yeah.
But now to leave it on this note, though, I'm going to say they caused a little bit of a problem, but I think for what we got overall, it was solid.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would be mad, or I don't think there's going to be a lot of people mad if we have a season 2. In fact, I think they've now forced the hand to do that in some variation.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to do an Ironheart season 2, you're going to do another Marvel team in season 2. And I can't say Young Avengers anymore because honestly, after watching this, it's up in the air.
Yeah, I know. They almost have to do a season 2 because with how things end, trying to wrap that into some other project coming up feels like they're just trying to do too many storylines in too short an amount of time that a movie would require.
Yeah. So where this jumps in, because to kind of just skim over the episodes, we're going to start talking about episode 4, Bad Magic. This is the one that I thought was more of a filler than anything.
Yes.
Because they really spent a lot of time, I want to say, dissecting the cloak, but it could have been a lot more quicker about it, I should say. Yeah. Because when we released Riri, she's ripped off a piece of the cloak.
Yep.
She's trying to take it to get ID'd. She's now pinned it basically on Zeke Stain, who's now arrested, and obviously there's a flip there, which we knew was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
In the comics, Zeke Stain is obviously not anything pro-Tony Stark or anything Stark Enterprises related, and Ironheart has a guilt by association, per se.
He likes to think the apple falls far from the tree. We knew better.
Mm-hmm. So this whole paranoia that Riri's having, because obviously she's crossed Parker Robin's gang, she knows there's going to be some retribution of some sort.
Yep.
She has to go and look for help. And she does find help in Madeline Stanton, who's played by who, Pat? Cree Summers.
Oh, yeah. The incredible Cree Summers, mind you.
Yes, who is great in this role. And Madeline's daughter, Zelma, who is played by Regan Alia. And if you know the comics, Zelma has a little connection to Strange Academy and Doctor Strange. So they spend a good majority of this episode dissecting this cloak.
Yep.
And like I said, I felt they spent way too much time on this.
It was nice to see kind of that other side of like the magic that wasn't necessarily strange.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the academy over in Nepal or wherever that was out in the Asian continent.
Karmatage?
Yeah, Karmatage, thank you. It was nice to see something outside of, Strange and outside of Wong and outside of, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. But no, I agree with you. It was way too much time focused on it.
Yeah, like they spent up a good majority of this, which I don't think they needed to get the point across where they were going with.
No.
So this is where I thought the episode kind of hurt a little bit. I understand this. I want to say this was more of that Disney fun moment.
Yeah,
a little bit per se. To a degree. But the result is that Riri has to come clean about the cloak and more or less come clean about her AI.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she knows that the cloak is now from a dark dimension, which they tease with Dormammu.
Right.
So that made sense as far as we were going. And how it was having an effect on Parker. This was now coming back on Riri. And then this was something she opened up to Ronnie about. So this also turned into a very interesting segue point because this also started having her more or less having a panic attack.
Yep.
And then this kicked in Natalie.
Yep. Tried calming her down.
Yeah, who tried calming her down. And then when this came out, this was right in front of her brother.
Right.
So the reaction that we had with Natalie now reappeared.
Yeah.
In front of her brother. Like, this was a very noteworthy point in the story.
To which, at this point, her brother didn't know about the whole Natalie AI thing.
Yeah.
And he found out this way.
Yeah, so this is where, I like how this went down because this is a flawed moment of the character.
Yep. So
I get this. So Matthew Elon played this very smoothly, and obviously Lyric Ross, who's been playing Natalie, did this very well too. Like, it's the setup for all this was very, very well.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, it just took forever to get it in this episode, though, in my opinion. So when this is happening, it's like Riri's getting asked about deleting the AI, and Natalie takes off with the suit because, well, AI is obviously sentient and goes. All the while, Parker's gang is breaking Zeke out of jail and is now helping him to augment himself.
Yep.
With bionic enhancements. So this is nothing new. This is more or less what he does to himself in the comics.
Yep.
However, he's using Parker Robbins to get to this point too. So all the while, this is when it's now discovered by Parker, Riri is responsible for John's death.
Yep.
So the hit has been put out on Riri. And that really sums up this episode. So like I said, we're not spending a lot of time deep diving on it, but this is also where it establishes enough of events that are taking place. So we now move and go into episode 5, which I thought was a lot better. I thought for where we needed to go, it definitely worked because Natalie and the suit are captured.
Yep.
And this is when Riri is meeting with Zelma, who's now deciphering that it's Dormammu from the cloak.
She's convinced.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But this is also when they have that kind of weird fight scene at the fast food place.
Yes.
And I mean, it was all right. It did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more of just, I want to say
going through the motions.
Yeah, really. Like you knew there was no real sense of urgency or danger here.
Yeah.
I liked the cinematography here. Don't get me wrong.
Like if somebody was, being held captive and you got to get to the end point. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So this is when she fights off most of the gang, gets the suit. This is when you see the moment where she jumps in the suit, catches her, and she puts her fist down on the ground. So we've seen the truck go over.
Yep.
So this is perfect. So like I said, she fights off everybody. And this is when, like Riri is telling everybody like John killed Stewart. And like you start digging through a lot of the backstory that's going on here because obviously Stewart's death in this show was covered up. And it's like there's a lot of mistrust between Parker's gang. So we can't deny that. But there's still a little friction going on between Riri and Natalie. And then this is when you have the throwdown with Zeke.
Yep.
And this is like where things get really interesting, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so because Riri gets into a fight with Zeke, who, again, bionically enhanced, and he whoops her rear end.
Yeah.
But spares her life.
Yeah, he does. So, like I say,
dismantles the suit.
Yeah.
Suit is no more. She's alive, though.
Yeah, Alden Ehrenreich, who plays Zeke Stain, obviously great job with this, too. Because you have to have a little bit of smarminess, if I can use that word, in his character. He definitely pulled that off. And then they cover up for Riri and they say that she's dead.
Yeah, for reasons.
Yeah, for their own reasons.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting setup. But obviously knowing that Parker's got a bloodlust in him for anybody that crosses him, this is where... they want to walk on eggshells, too, because they can see he's getting more unhinged. And that is something that I thought Anthony Ramos did a phenomenal job with, because when that switch gets flipped and we go from the street hustler to the supernatural, I thought it was a solid progression. I thought it made sense, and I like how he did, because he winds up firing his entire gang after all this, because he's basically says, like, I don't need anybody. But all the while, though, this is something that the Hood does in the comics all the time.
Right.
He has a backup plan, and his backup plan was, well, the upgrades that Zeke did to him, well, Parker can kind of take control of.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing, too, with his gang at this point, I think they were all pretty suspicious of the guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could see how he's just getting more unhinged.
Yeah.
That everything that he tried proclaiming himself as a Robin Hood... that now...
More of a sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, the more he's into his own ideas. And like I say, that's when you see him go and break into the house of Arthur Robbins, who is the head of a few companies that Parker is trying to target and grow his wealth, and more or less forces him strongly to turn over everything.
Yep.
So there's a bit of a shakedown, but you kind of see, like, this is something that is... the Hood 101. Does this in the comics. So like I say, I had no issue about any of this going down.
No.
But during this point, too, we have the rebound, rebuild, reconstruct segment going on with Riri. Because now that she's reconnecting with her team, her friends, and her family there.
Yep.
And they're building a new suit in Gary's garage. And she more or less makes a suit out of an old car.
Tony Stark built this in a cave with nothing but scraps. Riri Williams built this in a garage with her family in a junked up car.
Yeah.
It was that moment.
But like I say, it played off well.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool sequence.
It was a very cool sequence because, like we said, Riri's an inventor. She knows what she's doing. She's a very young adult here, but she is really coming into her own and really trying to make herself stand out. That she's not a Tony Stark clone.
Right.
She's her own character, which I thought she did very well. I thought Dominic Thorne really drove that point home in this sequence. But knowing that she needs to power the suit, she taps into Zelma to try helping. And this is where I think things got a little crazy.
A little bit.
Because Zelma is using magic.
And it ain't mixing with the suit real well.
It's not mixing with the AI of Natalie.
Yep.
So they wind up kicking the power in, but Natalie is deleted in the process.
Much to Riri's horror.
Right, because obviously her best friend came back to life subconsciously, but I will get to that in a bit. But now she's gone again. Which I thought was very, very odd, but then again, it's magic and science and
reasons.
It's reasons 101. It just doesn't make sense at this moment, but we will find out. So that is how it's left going into the main event entitled "The Past Is the Past," and this is the big payoff everybody's been waiting for because we do get a flashback of Parker Robbins and when he was actually trying to rob Arthur Robbins earlier in the history there. And when he's making the escape, he's running down a dark alleyway underneath a bridge, it looked like.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
And all of a sudden, a voice in a shadow kind of says, walk through this door if you want to escape.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, more or less that moment. So we see him walk into a pizzeria. And
where no one can see him, but yet he's still there.
Yeah. And then as he walks in, he sits down with a man at a table.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yes, it's Sacha Baron Cohen. And after discussing about, what more he should be doing with his life. Like, you have all this potential, but you don't. You want power. You want respect. Like, what do you want in your life?
Yep.
And I can help you with that. I will give you the tools. I won't give you it, but I'll give you the tools. So we do find out that it's Sacha Baron Cohen, who they did a great job with the hairstyle and such to throw everybody off.
Yeah.
But a shot of a spoon on the table realizes he is who, Pad?
Mephisto.
So finally, after all this time, the MCU devil incarnate is here. So seeing him pop in this series, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And then especially what happens here is Parker is given a cloak by Mephisto.
Yep.
So the entire cloak that is Dormammu in the comics is not anymore. It's now Mephisto. So he has now literally made a deal with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So now we fast forward to the present, and this is where Parker has a little run-in with Mephisto about not going to terms with the deal they made.
I lived up to my end of the bargain. You didn't.
Yeah. And Mephisto is like, listen, I gave you the power. I gave you what you wanted.
I gave you the car. It ain't my fault you can't drive it.
Yeah. But he's like, listen, if you need more, I'll give you more to go get the cloak back, but it will cost you.
Yep.
So they make another deal. Because at this point, Parker is scrambling.
I was like, he ain't got nothing to lose.
No. So,
well, he's got something to lose, but he ain't thinking about that.
Well, at this point, yeah, it's like what else can go wrong for him? He is literally playing with nothing to hide.
Yep.
And that's the scariest individual you can think about. So while this is going on, Riri now makes the battle plan to go fight Parker and take him out once and for all. And even without Natalie there, she's ignoring anybody's advice, and I guess I should say, but I would say it's more of the warnings.
Yeah.
Like fall back, and she is like, nope, full speed ahead, goes right to Parker's hideout.
Yep.
And this is where, she winds up fighting Zeke, who doesn't really want to fight, but gets freed of Parker and the corruption that he has on him.
Yep.
So now Zeke is technically his own person.
Kind of.
Wait and see, ... But now is the main event inside the Hood's hideout, where it all started when Riri went down that elevator.
Mm-hmm.
But now the cloak has fully taken over Parker, and we do see a wild fight sequence happen.
Yeah,
which
was good.
It was very good. When his face turned into that demon, that is straight from the comics.
Yep,
that has happened. So like I say, there's a lot of this I marked out about, but I do think. When the Hood came out originally, very, very interesting character.
Yeah.
Really, really liked him. I know he's popped in a couple places here and there, most recently in Jason Lowe's Werewolf by Night series.
Oh, okay.
But it's been kind of like low key for where like he had been featured at one point in Marvel.
Right.
So, but I liked how the setup was here. The only thing I did not like was the ending to this fight.
Yeah.
Because they're going back and forth. Parker's destroying that suit of armor.
Yeah.
It's not even close. But Riri distracts him with a hologram.
Yep.
And during this, she just rips the cloak off him.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was just way too simple.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, blinded by power and not seeing the obvious. Okay, I get it, but still doesn't, change it from being a bit of a cheap ending.
No, it was cheap. Like I say, I felt it was just like anticlimactic.
Yeah.
For the sense of like she was getting destroyed. She just pulls a fast one and rips the cloak off. Like, I understand being distracted, but I just thought that cloak came off way too easy.
Agreed.
So now Parker is left on the ground, writhing in pain, begging for the cloak back because he's obviously drained without it. It's almost like a vampire effect.
Something like that, yeah.
And Riri just does not. And then Riri starts descending in the basement too here. And lo and behold, we're back at that the upscale pizzeria, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little empty here in this situation. And this is the one-on-one that Mephisto is seeing there talking with Riri.
Mm-hmm.
And dabbles in the whole deal of, what do you want? Like, you're somebody, I've been keeping my eye on you for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said this, there's some pieces that started making some sense.
Okay.
We started hearing about, like, Mephisto's been watching everybody in the MCU for quite some time.
Yep.
And then when Natalie was born in this moment, in this series,
right,
it was just convenient that she was activated.
Right, because even Riri didn't know how it happened.
Right. Well, that's a science thing, right?
Yeah.
So is it to say that Mephisto planted that original AI into existence?
He could have.
Which I think happened. Because he starts dabbling. He went into her head, found out what she wanted, and obviously he wants souls. That's what he feeds off of and more or less gets his power from.
Yep.
So she starts getting swayed into thinking that she has a chance to bring Natalie back.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was very odd of character because we've seen that Riri saw what's happened with Parker the entire time.
Yep.
Knew that was supernatural, knew there was a problem, knew something was up. But to see her get swayed so easily.
With like a couple sentences.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a long scene.
No.
We have to remember.
No. So
to see her get swayed, and she's having flashbacks here, but she's keeping a very a good poker face, if you will. Like, she's not tipping her hand to what she's doing. But to see that she ultimately buys in on making a deal, I thought was a little rushed.
Yeah.
However, if it's based off of, and granted, I'm speculating here.
Right.
If Mephisto was working Riri the entire time and fooling her and convincing her about this AI, what's to say that he didn't have some sort of little bit of possession on her?
Could be.
I mean, it's fully plausible.
Yeah, no, it is.
Because that's the only way it makes sense to me
Sure.
of how she got swayed so quickly. And obviously somebody's going to say, well, she's young. She's not thinking straight.
Yeah, which also could be the case.
Could be the case.
I mean, it also could be the case of she sees this as her one way of getting her friend back. Because, okay, yeah, she did it once. You know, when she went to activate the AI and it turned into Natalie. But the thing she kept reiterating throughout the series, I don't know how I did it. It was scanning my brain and she just appeared. So in her head, being the scientific person she is, she can't replicate the process because she doesn't know the external factors that led to that happening, other than, hey, I plugged this thing into my head and she popped out.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for a scientist. So if she can't replicate the process, she's going to go the next best way. And what is that? Deal with Mephisto.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's kind of an interesting character flip.
Yeah. I mean, because usually you would expect the hero to be like, no, I'm going to follow on the side of good. I'm not going to listen to you. Not in this case.
Well, it showed her character is not that morally on the up and up. I mean, she's always kind of dabbled on both sides of the law, if you will.
Sure.
So to see this happen, I thought it was an interesting take. And like I say, they took a risk here. They took a big gamble. But they also went on the gamble of what they're going to do when the series comes back, because we ultimately see that the deal is back when Natalie walks through the door.
Right.
And Riri gives her a hug. And then as we see Riri's arm is exposed, we see those tentacle-esque marks start going up her arm, meaning she took the deal. Now, the only thing that could sway something in a different direction is, was she dreaming this?
Oh.
There's that possibility, too.
I didn't think of that one.
Yeah, I started thinking, well, is this a dream? Like, is she going to bite on this? And is this what she's envisioning, but then the dream takes over and it's corrupted? I mean, like I say,
there's a lot of ways they could go about it.
There's a lot of ways they can go. So this is one of the more intriguing endings they've done.
Yeah.
But it's very up in the air.
Yeah.
Because what is real and what is not. So, and this also goes back to the science versus magic conflict, because you have to kind of decipher what side of the fence you want to stay on for that.
Right.
But nevertheless, that's how it ends. So the ending, like I say, it felt very rushed to me.
Yeah.
But I thought it was one of the better episodes. But then again, they spent a lot of time building Mephisto up. More in the same vein of they spent a lot of time in episode 4 building Zelma up.
Yeah.
You know, and to see where the payoff's going to be there with her and Madeline. Because obviously, coming out of this is where we go to the bonus scene of the show. And we see Parker go to Zelma's magic shop.
Yep.
And he's kind of looking around and kind of asking for help without asking.
And it looks like, at least at this point, from what we can see, she doesn't quite know who he is.
Right.
She knows he's on the up and up, and he knows what she actually does.
Yep.
But as to like the further, information of who he is, she has zero clue.
The only thing that was a tip-off here for something more is he did say something, I need to find out somebody with supreme magic.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning the Sorcerer Supreme. So where this goes from here,
who knows,
is completely wide open. But for overall, they took a lot of risks.
Yes.
Because now, if you end the series here without the payoff of whatever is going on with Riri, Mephisto, the Soul, I want to say it's going to be a little disappointing.
I mean, you have to do a season 2 just because, like I said, unless they want to tie it into Spider-Man 4, because Spider-Man's got the connection with Mephisto and all that whole thing, and given how Spider-Man, what was it, No Way Home, the third Spider-Man went,
Yeah.
I can see, him doing a deal like, oh, I want to turn back the clock. I want to undo what I did with Strange and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I could see it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but okay, I could see. But it just feels like you're trying to cram too much into a movie. You almost have to do a season 2 just because nothing else with what we know is coming in terms of what's actually connected to the MCU, the sacred timeline, makes sense to fit this into.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, that's the one problem they have. It's either going to be one of two things.
Because if they'd have wrapped this up in a bow or left it in a way that's like, okay, we knew what the direction was for Riri. Mm-hmm. Be it, Haley Steinfeld, Haley Allen,
correct.
Whatever she's going by these days.
Queen of Buffalo.
Yes, the Queen. If the Queen of Buffalo showed up and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. All right. Pretty clear where they're going.
Yeah.
If somebody else, Wong or somebody else from, Karamataz showed up and like, okay, at least got an idea where she go. We just don't know.
Yeah, that's the only problem you have with this because it's either going to be one of two things. They're going to do a second season, which perfectly all right with, and I'm not mad about it. The only thing, just put it on episodically and put it on weekly. That's my only thing.
Please,
I'm
for
hoping.
the love of God.
Yeah, because it's just not working. The only other way they can do this, because they're not going to tie this in with Secret Wars. I would probability-wise, let's say there's a 10% chance they do.
She'll show up, but no, they're not going to tie it in.
No.
There's going to be too much going on as is.
Right, that's the whole thing. I don't think that she winds up there. They're going to spin this into a Strange Academy show.
It could be.
Because they're going to go magic with this, because that's obviously she's now tied herself to that part of the MCU.
Right.
I just don't know if that's going to be another Disney Plus show. I don't see that being a movie. Trying to do magic in the MCU is very, very tough. Mm-hmm. We saw with Doctor Strange. Second one did not do so well, if you want to believe it. Mm-hmm. But this is also kind of dealing with where are we heading with this side of the MCU. Mm-hmm. I know the popular theory is Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say on record, you're not going to see Midnight Suns until you have a Ghost Rider established.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So,
I mean, there's a possibility we see something in between Doomsday and the next Avengers movie, which is Secret Wars. Because there's stuff, and I'm looking at a Variety article with upcoming Marvel projects. There's the Punisher special, which is supposed to be coming in 2026, but until I hear that officially, dated, take it as a, we'll see. And then there's the Vision show they've got listed, which is supposedly coming in 2026, but again, until we actually get a date on that one, wait and see. Mm-hmm. So for announced, confirmed, we know this is coming. Between those two films, we ain't got nothing. So There is a possibility that they could do almost like what happened with Infinity War. Remember Infinity War, outside of a one-line mention, Paul Rudd was not seen for that entire Avengers movie. And then we got Ant-Man and the Wasp. We got to find out, okay, what's been going on, where he is, and all this stuff. Could very well, I'm not saying she's going to get a mention, one line right off, in Doomsday. But she may not show up in Doomsday. And then we sit there going, I wonder where she is. Boom, season 2, in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that sets up her role in Secret Wars.
I mean, maybe. I would say that is plausible. I think the only thing we don't know right now, and unfortunately we're not going to know for
a while,
I would say until 2026
at least,
is what they're going to plan on doing.
Yeah.
I don't think we know they're not going to say anything at San Diego. That's done
because they're not there.
New York, highly doubtful.
Yeah.
Not like I say, you want a percentage on it? I will say that there is a 15% chance we hear something at New York.
Yeah, I'd say probably about that.
Yeah, New York. I mean, typically they've done TV shows in the past.
But it was all Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and
right.
What was it, Agent Carter.
Well, they've done Agent Carter. They've done Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They did
Defenders. They did the Netflix shows.
Yep.
So, I mean, it is not out of the realm of thought. They have not done a Disney Plus show there.
Correct.
So, now just not to say that Marvel's not going to say, hey, we want to do it.
Correct.
We just don't know But as of what we've heard thus far for New York, they're not planning on anything right now that we know of.
Right. I mean, they put out their first batch of celebrities appearing, and
yeah,
I don't think anybody major from the MCU was going to be there, at least not yet.
No, the only one they kind of tipped off was going, but I don't know unless it's a reunion panel of some sort. Is Clark Gregg, Chloe Bennett, and Ming-Na Wen.
Right.
So
which it could be.
You could see an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel there, which I would not doubt.
Yeah, could be.
But for where we're going here,
they did own the NYCC for a few years.
Oh, absolutely. So, like I say, I'm not doubting that. But for what we need for Ironheart,
yeah,
I don't think we're going to get anything until
at least 2026.
At least 2026. Like, it might be a year that we hear something, because
Yeah.
I don't see Marvel skipping back-to-back years for San Diego.
No, I don't see them skipping back-to-back years either. I mean, they could always do hey, we're going to do like an Xbox, PlayStation, or like they did the one year, the DC Fandom.
Oh, they want to do their own version? Well, I mean,
I'm not saying they could do a full-blown thing, but they could decide to do, hey, we're going to do our own announcement thing, and here's some stuff we got coming now that Doomsday's out.
But the thing is, like, they would have to do it if Disney's doing a big convention. They would do it there.
When's the next D23?
I was going to say thank you. I was trying to think of what that show was. I think you're going to see something there. Like, that would make the most sense, because they want that crowd pop. They don't like to do stuff just to put it out there and let it go. Like, when they did Robert Downey Jr. back as Doom, they wanted that crowd pop.
Uh-huh.
So I fully suspect that's what we're getting.
So it looks like the next proper, larger, there's going to be a smaller one, Destination D23, A Journey Around the Worlds of Disney, is going to be held at the Disney's Coronado Springs Resort in Orlando, Florida. It's not the larger D23, which is held in Anaheim, California, is expected to return in 2026.
Yeah, so I would say that.
So probably the next, if they don't want to wait for San Diego 2026, they could do it at D23.
They might do a teaser or something.
Or the Brazilian one. Everybody loves announcing stuff at the Brazilian Comic-Con every year.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, they have some options open, but I think for where we're going here, it all depends on what they want to go with the character. Now, I think the big plus is we have seen that the viewership has been very high on Disney+. Yeah. So that's awesome to see.
Fan reaction's been pretty positive, too.
Fan reaction has been very positive. I know you have to really kind of just watch for yourself to form your own opinions.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, for all that nonsense review bombing, the show is nowhere near as bad as people were trying to say.
It's not Inhumans level bad.
No, it is absolutely not. No, it is a very good show.
Yeah.
Like I say, they could have been tighter in a few parts.
Yep.
And I think it got away for a little bit for the science versus magic aspect, which I think would have been the selling point. I think when they started dabbling into more of the magic side of things, it went away from Riri and finding her character into setting up for something else. And I think that was a big disservice, and I don't like that about the show. I really thought that hurt overall. But nevertheless, I am very excited to see where this character goes.
Yeah.
I just don't know where, because there's so many parts up in the air. It's very uncertain about what direction they want to go. And if they leave it like this, that is such a travesty. It's not fair, and they absolutely need to do something, whether it's one episode, tie it again, like a special presentation, or you bring back for season 2, or you tie it into Strange Academy. That's the only options you got. Mm-hmm. Pad, final thoughts on this?
Good show. Not necessarily the best one I've ever seen, but by no means is it the worst. It was a fun watch, and definitely gave me a much larger interest in seeing Riri Williams in the MCU. Where that be, I don't know, but I'm excited to see it.
Very excited to see what the future holds for Riri Williams, and if you want to get on there, start doing the hashtag Save Ironheart. You need to make your voice heard, because Marvel is listening, Disney's listening, DC's listening too, but that's a whole different ballgame that we'll talk about next segment. But in the meantime, though, hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. What is your takeaways from Ironheart Season 1? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? Let's have that conversation, shall we? But we're going to get a breakout first. We'll be right back.
You ever wondered what comics Mark from Vale is into? What Zach from Left Behind's favorite MCU movies are? Well, Metalcore Nerds is the show for you. My name is Sean Mott, and here at Metalcore Nerds, we cover the latest things in pop culture, whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, DC, AEW, and everything else in between. You can listen to the show every Monday on Adobe Howl at 7 p.m. Eastern, or find it anywhere you find podcasts after it debuts on the radio station.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and boy, there's a lot of pro wrestling to talk about this week.
Holy sugar cookies, yeah, there is.
WWE is going heavy this weekend, matching AEW's All-In spectacular show that is happening, or spectacle, if you will. I'm trying to find a good adjective for it, but if you want to find out more about that, Nerd Initiative Wrestling Night Live is going to be discussing it this week, and I can guarantee you they'll have a pre-show extravaganza, if I can use that term. So Rich and Sammy will be breaking down the AEW, but let's talk a little WWE, Pat.
Yeah, so they got a trio of events taking place in Atlanta, Georgia this weekend. If you're an Atlantean down in the state of Georgia and you're a WWE fan, boy, if you got a full weekend ahead of you. Taking place first on Saturday from the Center Stage venue in Atlanta, Georgia. It's NXT's Great American Bash. After that, you got Saturday night's main event taking place at the State Farm Arena. And then the night after that, taking place in, the State Farm Arena, you've got the second iteration of the all-women's pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it, Evolution.
Very excited for that card.
Yeah.
Very excited for all three cards, but let's talk a little NXT. I know it's been a little still building up as we're recording. NXT will announce more matches tonight.
Yep.
But let's get into it.
So the matches we do know taking place, the first one of which is a singles match for the NXT Women's North American Championship with Sol Ruca defending her belt against Izzy Dame.
So this has been one that we've been kind of keeping an eye on. Izzy Dame is getting a big push right now. She's part of the Shawn Spears faction.
Right.
And obviously with a little help of Tatum Paxley, who's now been kind of circulating around that group.
Yep.
So this one, listen, Sol Ruca I know has been with Zarya. I don't doubt that this is a time to take the belt off Sol and give it to Izzy. I think that they're setting up for this ever so slightly.
Yeah.
So I would not doubt that, obviously, with some help, Izzy takes this belt and gives that faction their crowning moment.
We'll say you're talking math and just the numbers game. A few too many numbers on Izzy Dame's side. I think I agree with you. I think she's going to take the belt off of Ruca and be your new North American champion.
Yeah, which no problem with that. Like I say,
absolutely,
because like I say, I have a feeling that we're going to see the women's tag team titles get pushed, and I would not doubt that Sol and Zarya are in that mix.
Could be. Speaking of the women's tag team titles, the NXT women's tag team. No, that's not for the tag team titles. It's just a tag team match. Excuse me. The next match is a tag team match with Fatal Influence in JC Jane and Fallon Henley taking on the incredible team of Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe.
So Blake Monroe, a.k.a. Mariah May, who is now defected from AEW to come to WWE.
Yep.
In a prime storyline.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Right out the gate. No shocker here. So against Fatal Influence, I know this one has got a little title implications coming up. I would say this. I think that they're not going to have Blake Monroe lose this one.
There's no way.
I don't see that happening. I see this being her and Jordan Grace. There might be some miscues that would kind of cause a little bit of issue. But I think overall, I think that they'll have a great match here. This will be a great showcase to see what I want to say Mariah, so I'm just going with that. But I think this would be what Blake does. And really kind of showcases, okay, what is the big transition from AEW to WWE for her? Because I think what we're seeing now is we're going to see how the merging of styles goes. Because AEW and WWE has very different styles in their own right. Yeah. So I'm not down that we have that happen.
So this is going to be, I had to look it up, and I looked it up over on Cage Match. This is going to be the first televised match that Mariah May, Blake Monroe, whatever you want to call her, will have in the WWE system. She has wrestled a match, but it was an NXT live house show that was back in the end of June, where she defeated Lainey Reed. So past that, the last televised thing she was on was AEW Revolution back in March, where she lost to Toni Storm. There's no way, with as much pomp and circumstances they've been giving her in the promo package and having her debut and all this other stuff, that she's going to lose in her first match in WWE.
No, I wouldn't see that happening either. Like I say, but like I say, Fatal Influence is a good match for them to get some screen time, so I don't doubt that happening.
Yep. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, the last match we know of right now before NXT airs tonight is in a singles match for the NXT Championship. You've got Yoshiki Inamura taking on Obafemi for the NXT Championship.
This is all Obafemi. It's nothing against Yoshiki. But Obafemi's on a roll right now. There's no way they're taking the belt off of him here.
No chance.
They will have a great match, though. So don't get that twisted. They will have a phenomenal match.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have the TNA World Championship contract signing happening.
Oh, okay.
So if you say his name, he will appear because we all believe in Joe Hendry. And also Mike Santana, I'm loving this.
Oh, baby.
Is going to be signing.
Give it to me.
Yep, with Trick Williams there. So listen, I'm in for this. I think that is going to be a hell of a match.
Oh, my God, yeah.
When they go. And like I say, don't doubt Mike Santana winning that belt.
I can see it.
I really don't, because that's going to be going on at Slammiversary.
Yep.
So that is one of TNA's premium live events is going to be taking place. So the fact they're doing a contract signing, once again,
a TNA contract signing on NXT, it's wild.
It's wild, but listen, this is the proof of the forbidden door. It can work both ways if both sides are willing to push it open for the other.
Oh, yeah.
So to give this that big of a spotlight, that's huge, especially Joe Hendry and Mike Santana on TV.
Yeah.
That's huge, and especially building up against Trick Williams over there. And it's a perfect role for Trick until they're ready to call him up to the main roster.
Absolutely.
Not mad about this at all. So this is all taking place 3 p.m. Saturday on the Peacock and Netflix internationally. So great way to start the day, but it's not the big show of the night, though.
Oh, baby. No, that's going to take place, like I said, the State Farm Arena later that same day for Saturday night's main event. 3 matches we know for this card. I expect this is going to be it. I can't imagine they're going to add. They might add one more, but I don't know what it would be. So the 3 matches we do know, first of which is going to be batten down the hatches because it's Randy Orton taking on Drew McIntyre in a singles match.
Great opener.
Oh, my God.
I guarantee you this is going to open the show. The crowd's going to be hot. They're going to be ready to go for this one, so expecting some fireworks there.
Agreed. Next up is a singles match with L.A. Knight taking on Seth Rollins.
So this one is a little bit intriguing.
Yeah.
Now, LA Knight has been making his appearance on Monday Night Raw. He's been obviously attacking Seth Rollins. There's been the heat build up there. There has been also this going off this past week's Monday Night Raw, a little friction starting with the Rollins Coalition. I don't think they have a real name yet.
No.
Braun Breaker seems to just want to go out and spear everybody.
And bark at everybody.
Yeah, and bark at everybody too. Like I say, he's just 3 moves of doom. But listen, I'm not going to mess with the man because he will spear me and destroy me in half. So I'm not going to say anything bad about him. But I think that we might see, they've been rumoring, and I want to stress rumoring, if I can use that word, a 4th member getting added to this coalition. Now, I don't know who it's going to be. The hot names going around is Ethan Page and Ricky Saints.
Ooh. Okay.
So either or.
It would be good.
It would be a good move to add if you're going to do that. I don't think it's going to be anybody established like Jey Uso.
No.
So I'm already going to rule that out. But I do think this is going to be Seth Rollins due to help.
Yes.
Of some sort.
Yes.
So.
That or I think there could be possible interference from certain Second City Saint.
Well, I do think Punk's going to get involved, but this will be somebody who will jump in.
Yeah.
And listen, I will say this. If it's Ricky Saints, that will be a hell of an opening program with him and Mr. Punk.
I would say so.
That will be one that just give them the microphone and listen. They both have shown in AEW that
why don't we start shooting, brother?
Yeah, they don't mind going there, but that's a mutual respect thing. It's not like a You would not have a dare I say a Hangman Adam Page CM Punk moment.
Oh Lord,
you will get some good promos out of them, and I think that would be a high profile thing for either Ricky Saints or Ethan Page can go on the mic too.
Yeah, you can.
So,
you can.
But I'm going to say Seth Rollins wins via shenanigans.
Agreed. And then this is going to be the main event. It is going to be a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship. You have Gunther defending his belt against Goldberg. Oh, boy.
Just why?
No, we know why.
I mean, we know why. It's
reasons.
It's reasons to the umpteenth degree.
I mean, it's supposed to be his retirement match. It's in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. I get it.
I'm
not mad about it. I mean, it's a smart business decision in that it's NBC, which for those of you who don't know, you live overseas. You don't have to pay a premium if you have a standard cable package to get. It's going to be on. It's available on every television that has a cable package in the country, so you could very well have had some folks between when they announced this match and Saturday night going, hey, I haven't watched wrestling in a while, but I know Goldberg. Why don't I tune that in? So from a business standpoint, I get it.
Well, yeah.
I'm not over the moon excited for it, but I get it.
No, I get it for as far as business-wise. My only thing is at his age, and last time we saw him in a ring, He did not look good.
No, he didn't.
Now, granted, could Gunther carry him to a good match? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do not doubt this in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
The only thing I fear, and I truly do fear this, is if they give the belt to Goldberg.
Would it be shorter or longer than his match against Brock Lesnar in 2016?
Shorter.
Oh, that was a minute 25. You think it's going to be shorter?
Well, no, I mean, no, his title reign.
Oh, his title reign.
I'll say this. This match will probably go 10 minutes.
Yeah, it could be.
I can't see for the life of me going longer.
No,
not at this
no,
age.
God, no.
I do see though. I'm going to say Gunther retains.
Okay. Yeah, I previously was thinking there was a chance, Goldberg could win, Rollins cashes in, but I think with everything else going on and plus the Cody Rhodes stuff, I'm not leaning that way so much these days.
I will say this: if Rollins does lose to LA Knight, he's cashing in.
Okay.
I will say that because I think they're going to tip their hand.
Okay.
Because whoever usually has the briefcase at said moment, they lose and then they'll cash in later that night.
Oh, okay.
You usually see that. Now,
there's exceptions.
There are exceptions to it, but I would say I would bank on this because I just think as much as this will get a ratings pop, and it will.
Oh, yeah.
There's no long-term plan for this.
Right.
Unless he drops it on Monday or Friday. But who's he
then
gonna...
you kind of cheapen the belt.
Yeah, that's the whole point. And I think that this is why they took the belt off Jey Uso, because they wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Could Jey get back in the title mix here? Sure. But do I see him doing that? No. But I could see there being a lot of shenanigans here as well.
Yeah.
Like if Gunther wins, this could be an appearance by somebody we're not thinking of to come out. I don't think we'll get a John Cena appearance. We could have a promo segment for him.
It could be. I don't think so, though.
I don't think so, especially with his dates, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's now under 20, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
So we have to kind of wait to see about this, but I think ultimately this is going to be Gunther's to do, and obviously, you know what he'll do? He'll do the respectful thing, like he'll raise Goldberg's hand or something. Like
he'll shake his hand in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, I mean he's done that before, so I think he'll do that. But I just can't see Gunther. Let me rephrase this: I can't see Goldberg walking out of there as champion.
God no.
So that's why I say Seth Rollins will come in and cash in.
Could be.
Which if he does, it's fine.
Could be.
No issues there.
Then we get to the last one of the weekend, and like I said, this is also taking place at the State Farm Arena.
This is the one I'm most looking forward to. In
Atlanta, Georgia. Was announced today that the incomparable Lillian Garcia is going to be the ring announcer for this event.
Okay.
Matches we know for Evolution, the second iteration of this pay-per-view.
And what's so special about this pay-per-view?
So special about this pay-per-view is every wrestler in every match, top to bottom, all female.
All women, yes.
All women pay-per-view.
There's all women pay-per-view. They did this once before. It was amazing time then. And granted, I know people have been complaining about the build for this, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Because you know what? All you need to do is take a look at the rosters.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you say this is going to be an all-women's pay-per-view, they're going to come out and they're going to tear the roof off this place. This is going to be the best show of the weekend. I'm saying this on top of AEW.
Arguably one of the greatest matches of all time took place at the last Evolution, which was in 2018, by the way. It was Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair in the last woman standing match.
Yep, that was wild.
Went 30 minutes even. Go look that
Insane.
So the matches on this card, first up in a singles match for the NXT Women's Championship, you've got JC Jane defending her belt against Jordynne Grace.
So this is a moment I think Jordynne Grace winds up winning.
Probably.
I don't think they're going to keep the belt off her that long. I don't doubt this also might have a setup where Blake Monroe turns.
Comes out to help her, but then attacks her after the match.
Yeah, I mean, JC Jane is very worthy of the title. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, when she was in the Mandy Rose faction, I'm already forgetting what the name of that one was.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that she obviously deserved a good tag team title run, if not a mid-card title. The fact she got the world title, listen, I'm not mad about it. She's gone in there. She's done what she can with the belt. I just think they're ready to give it to Jordynne Grace.
Toxic attraction.
Thank you. And I think that ultimately, though, this is Jordynne Grace's moment, but
Agreed.
I would not doubt that we see Blake Monroe turn quick.
I could see it. I agree with you.
That's the big money match right there.
Next up is a singles match for the Women's World Championship, which you've got Io Sky defending her belt against Rhea Ripley.
See, I'm not mad about this.
No, it makes sense.
It makes sense, but I'm not that excited because they've faced each other so many times.
Yeah.
It's a fight forever.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it, though.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it'll be a great match. I hope Io retains.
I do, too.
I really do. It's nothing against Rhea, but I think that if Io retains, you got a little more possibilities where you want to go with the belt. When Rhea holds it, I mean, there's very few people that I think have a real logistic shot at taking it from her.
Yeah.
So to make the move, I think it would be very bold.
Yeah, I could see it. Next up is a fatal 4-way tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, and we know all of the participants in this matchup now. So defending their belt is going to be the Judgment Day in Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, stepping in for an injured Liv Morgan.
Yep, perfect.
The other thing is there's the champs, there's the team from SmackDown, team from NXT, and a team from Monday Night Raw. The team from Friday Night SmackDown, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss.
They've been setting that up for a while. I'm not...
Charlotte Flair, by the way, great article on the the Players Tribune.
Okay,
give that a read if you got some time today.
Yeah,
great article.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing with this pair, but I'm in for it.
The NXT team, Sol Ruka and Zarya.
No doubt there. That's why I said I think Sol's dropping the belt.
And then having reunited last night on Monday Night Raw, the team from Monday Night Raw, the Kabuki Warriors and Asuka and Kairi Sane.
That is official. It is them.
Yes.
Okay, because I heard originally it was supposed to be Natty and Maxine Dupree.
Nope. They're going to be. They're busy later that night. I'll tell what they're doing in a minute.
Okay. No, but
nope. Not Maxine and Natty. It is the Kabuki Warriors.
I'm like nothing against Natty and Maxine. I just think that this is for this showcase. Yeah, you made the right play with Kairi and Asuka. I really do. Listen, I'm going to say we have a new one. I was going to say Sol and Zarya. I'm going to say new, and it's going to be Kabuki Warriors because we're going to get the greatest elbow this side of Macho Man Randy Savage from Kairi Sane. Yeah, no, I think you're going to have something real wild happen here. In fact, I wouldn't doubt that Liv Morgan comes out and costs Roxanne. I'm starting to wonder that because the last 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw, Finn has emphasized how he had a shoulder injury and it took him 8 months to come back. Yeah. Once is understandable. Twice? Might be something to it. Yeah, so I think she winds up costing them. Yeah. I mean, they could give the belts to Charlotte and Alexa. I don't know where we're going with that. That's my only thing. At this stage, I don't know. Like I said, I could see NXT, but I think it's going to go Kabuki Warriors. Okay. Next up is a battle royale for a world championship match at Clash in Paris. Some of them, we don't know all the participants. We do know some participants announced. Mainly they're from Monday Night Raw. So the participants we do know for this battle royale: Ivy Nile, Stephanie Vaquer, Nia Jax, Nikki Bella, and then Natalya and Maxine Dupree. Okay. So this is where Natalya and Maxine Dupree are, and this is where Nikki Bella is because they were setting up for a match with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan unfortunately got injured, and that match is now off. Okay. So those are the ones we know of thus far. We'll probably get some more from NXT announced. I think if I remember correctly what they said on Monday Night Raw last night, Ava is going to announce the participants of the Battle Royale tonight on NXT. I would imagine they're going to announce the rest of the participants from SmackDown on Friday. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Monday Night Raw ones are, well, early money, Stephanie Vaquer. Yeah, I was going to say, depending on how the rest of the field is, I think you have to give it to Stephanie Vaquer. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'll make a bold statement now. If they do this match before they do the Rhea Io match, sure, Rhea's winning, and this will be your main event in Clash in Paris. Okay. So I'm saying Stephanie Vaquer wins outright. Okay. Next up is going to be a singles match for the WWE Women's Championship with Tiffany Stratton defending her belt against Trish Stratus. This is going to be a really good match. Should be. It's going to be a great match. I was going to say, Tiffany Stratton is coming into her own. It's still kind of weird seeing her as the face. Yes. But I'm not mad about it. And her and Trish, I mean, listen, Trish is a Hall of Famer. She's revolutionized women's wrestling. Mm-hmm. This will be a fun match. I don't see Naomi cashing in here, but I think they'll tease it. Depends on where this match takes place. Yeah. I'm just reading these off of a list. This isn't going to be the match order, by the way. So if this match takes place after the Naomi match, yeah, it could be, but I don't think so. I think they've done too much teasing about Jade Cargill facing Tiffany. Uh-huh. So I don't think they'll do it here. So I'm going to say Tiffany retains, obviously, and then I think we're going to Jade and Naomi next, right? Yep, Jade and Naomi is the next match where that is a no-holds-barred match, and if I'm the ref, I'm checking Naomi for weapons before the match. So this is going to be a wild match. Uh-huh. And arguably one of SmackDown's better feuds. Yeah, I would say so. So the only thing here is, and I say this often because it just seems like Jade is always winning here. Mm-hmm. But she has a guaranteed shot against the winner of Tiffany and Trish. Mm-hmm. I can't see her losing here. No. But even though I think she should, But if she loses here, I'm going to say it. I'll say it now, and I'll say it when we talk about SummerSlam in a few weeks. Naomi is walking out champion at SummerSlam.
Garen, gosh darn teed.
Because I think Jade wins, and Naomi cashes in on her.
Yeah.
So
I agreed 100%.
So I think this one will be it'll be a wild match. I expect a lot of shenanigans, but I'm gonna say Jade wins.
Shenanigans from Naomi alone. Like her social media stuff and some of the stuff she's buying online. Good grief.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say obviously this is gonna be Naomi all day.
Yeah.
But Jade can't lose because this is gonna be Jade all day.
And the last match we got to talk about is a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, with Becky Lynch defending her belt against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria.
So this storyline's picking up a lot of steam.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Lyra is kind of in that frenemy zone with Bayley now, and because they both want a piece of Becky Lynch. Becky's working them against each other. This is gonna be a hell of a match.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I would say this: I think Becky retains now.
Okay.
But I don't doubt Bayley getting the win at SummerSlam.
Okay.
So I will say there'll be some shenanigans outright here. This is going to be a hell of a match.
Yes.
Lyra is going to look like $1 million in this because I think
she's been getting better.
She's been getting better, but she's coming into her own. I think it's something coming from NXT to the main roster. There is a little bit of adjustment, and I think, and this is not a slight against her by any means. I think it's taken her a little bit longer to get over because of her gimmick, but I think she's getting there, and she's looked better in the ring each and every time.
Right.
So that said, I would say that we have got Becky retaining.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of see where we play from there.
Yeah. No, it should be good. Do you get the feeling, though, they're going to get ready to turn Lyra, turn her heel?
I think so.
Just because, like, I'm thinking back to Monday Night Raw where she had the three of them had the confrontation, and then they left them standing tall. And it wasn't necessarily like I'm the face, and I beat the bad guy, and then the whatever Bayley is these days.
Yeah.
I just get the feeling that, like, maybe not Sunday, but at some point they're getting ready to turn Lyra heel.
I think they're testing it out to see if it works.
Could be.
That's the one thing with her.
Could be.
I think her character work still needs improvement.
Yeah.
Not to say there's anything wrong in the ring, but there's something about when you get the microphone, you got to win the crowd over one way or another.
Yeah.
I think she's still learning that.
Could be.
So I would say they're testing out and see whatever sticks.
I don't doubt Becky retains for this just because SummerSlam is coming up. Mm-hmm. And then whatever they want to do at SummerSlam, I think that's where, because she seems to be in that role nowadays where it's kind of a part-time. She's here for a stretch, goes away, comes back, almost like some folks we've seen in the past, where I don't doubt she holds the belt to SummerSlam, and then whoever she faces, whether it's Bayley, whether it's Lyra, whether it's somebody else, she drops the belt there.
I mean, you never know. It could happen, but be a hell of a weekend of pro wrestling. Though.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I'm more excited about Evolution 2 than anything else this weekend.
Yes.
So that all said, I mean, Monday Night Raw was kind of a little lackluster.
It was meh. It was so-so.
It was okay. The only thing to really take home is the crowd wants Karrion Kross.
Oh, my God.
And we need more of him.
Holy cow, yeah.
So
Also, get well soon, Sammy.
Yes, get well soon, Sami Zayn. Listen, I'm going to say right now, I think they're pushing Kross in the right direction. I don't think he's going anywhere. That crowd reaction is...
Yeah, for anyone thinking he's going to leave the company because his contract is supposedly coming up soon, would he be featured on TV this much?
Yeah.
Would he be getting new merch?
Yeah.
You have your answer.
I think he's doing just fine, and I expect him to be in some title picture very, very shortly.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt once they get the whole AJ Dom thing resolved, because Dom still has his doctor's note, although I did love the cake AJ sent Dom, and he was lurking in the background, and then he just disappeared. I wouldn't doubt he gets the result of whoever wins that matchup.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it either. I think they have big plans for him, but it's just a matter of you can't deny the crowd support for him.
No, at this point, no.
Because I would say this. Under the new WWE regime, they've been doing late signings and late releases.
Sure.
So this is just par for the course for the business. So if the allegedlys are true, his contract's up next month.
Allegedly. But again, he's getting new merch, and he's getting featured on television weekly.
So I'm sure he probably quietly signed and just doesn't want to say anything, because why ruin what's going on?
Yeah, kind of kill the momentum.
I can't blame him there. But nevertheless, big weekend of pro wrestling to be had, so definitely hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. What are you looking forward to from WWE and AEW? Well, listen, I'll talk AEW with you.
I won't.
I know Pat won't, so definitely I will field all calls and can't stress enough. If you want more AEW talk, Wrestling Night Live is going to be your home spot on Nerd Initiative YouTube this weekend, and I'm not doubting a pre-show extravaganza, as Rich calls it. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're subbed up, and we got one more break to get out. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna...
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Going to start with some entertainment first and some exciting PlayStation news because they have announced the upcoming State of Play broadcast for Ghost of Yotei. That is the sequel to one of my favorite games of all time, Ghost of Tsushima. Expect a 20-minute look at the upcoming game, which the broadcast is scheduled to take place at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, this Thursday, July 10th. If you're over in Europe, it's 11 p.m. CEST or 10 p.m. BST. So again, this is for the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which if you have a PlayStation, I think it might be on PC at this point. I could be wrong. Check your local listings. But if you have not played that game, seriously, go do yourself a favor. Game is incredible. It's from the incredible, wonderful folks over at, I believe it's Sucker Punch that worked on this. So yeah, Sucker Punch are the ones who did it. Fantastic game for Ghost of Tsushima. I expect Ghost of Yotei to be just as gosh darn good.
Yeah, this one's obviously has got a big cult following,
Yeah.
so I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. Then I'm going to talk a little bit of sports, looking at the standings for the minor league baseball and where our Binghamton Rumble Ponies currently play. In the Eastern League, they are still in first place with a record of 53-26.
That's right.
Hartford Yard Goats, the Colorado Rockies affiliate, are 11 games behind them in second place. The Somerset Patriots, the Yankees affiliates, are 12 games behind them in third place. The Portland Sea Dogs, the Boston Red Sox affiliate, are 15 games behind them in fourth place. The New Hampshire Fisher Cats, the Toronto Blue Jays affiliates, are 20 games behind them in fifth place. And then the Reading Fightin' Phils, which, again, they're the Phillies affiliate, are in last place, 23 games behind them in last place. Looking at their schedule from this past week, they had the weird split series where part of it was in Hartford, part of it was here in Binghamton. For the games up in Hartford, the game on Tuesday was actually postponed on because of rain, made up as part of a doubleheader on Wednesday. So the first game they lost 5-3, won the second game 6-0. Came back on Thursday, won that one 6-2. Then they came home, lost on July 4th, 4-1, won on Saturday 5-4, and then won again on Sunday 5-1. They are home again this week for a series against Altoona. They've got games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all at 6:07 p.m. Eastern. The Friday game is 7:05 p.m. Eastern. That one is Ohana Means Family Night, which, in case you couldn't tell, is Lilo and Stitch themed. So they will be, that says Ohana Means Family. Bring your family down to the ballpark for a weekend-long luau as we celebrate Experiment 626. It's also going to be a fireworks series with Elvis-themed fireworks, aka Elvis-themed music, playing as the fireworks go off. You've got Saturday, which is at 6:07 p.m. Eastern. That is also luau night. And then the Sunday game is 1:05 p.m. Eastern. We should also note that one of the games, it is the Wednesday game, is Bark at the Park night. So that's the one where you can bring your four-legged friends to the ballpark for a lot of fun going on there. So for more tickets, information, all that good stuff, bingrp.com. Then we're going to talk the major leagues because the announcement was made for the upcoming Home Run Derby, which is this upcoming Monday, and then the All-Star Game, which is Tuesday next week. So the participants for the Home Run Derby, and not going to lie, participants aren't that good this year.
Everybody's being low-key about this one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. This is a low-key All-Star week.
So Judge is not participating. I'll get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso's not participating. But your participants are from the Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuna Jr. currently has 9 home runs. He is participating. From the Seattle Mariners, the season this kid is putting on, holy smokes.
Good move for him.
Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners, dude's a catcher, currently has 35 home runs. I looked it up the other day because I was curious. The major league record for home runs in a season by a catcher, 41. Salvador Perez did it a couple years ago for the Kansas City Royals. Yeah, he's going to shatter that. From the Washington Nationals, James Wood, who has 23 home runs on the season currently. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, second to lastly, I should say, from the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton with 20 home runs on the season thus far. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, from the Pittsburgh Pirates with 15 home runs on the season, O'Neal Cruz. So it should be fine, but I'm not expecting fireworks.
No, this is all for Cal to cash in. And listen, I'm not mad about this. First and foremost, they're doing it for the fans.
Yep.
I'm not mad at anybody participating. Like I say, it's a low key one.
Yeah.
But it does miss that star power.
I agreed.
So that's the only thing I'm going to take away from it. But then again, I'm this critical about the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You need the stars to show up and do something for this. I understand everybody's worried about their swings after and that superstition.
Which is one reason Pete Alonso alluded to he's not participating.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm sorry. In this situation, that's what you're known for. Do it for the fans.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like you went on the DL for 3 months after.
Yep.
So, but like I said, it's going to be good for Cal. He's going to definitely get a lot of national attention for him.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I love his nickname, the Big Dumper.
Yeah, so hopefully he can continue on after the All-Star thing, because I think if he winds up slumping for whatever reason, everybody's going to go, oh, it's because he did the Derby, and that's stupid, in my opinion.
Then we've got the All-Star rosters were announced, and we talked about the starters a couple weeks ago. Some of the notable reserves, though. Jazz Chisholm Jr., the New York Yankees, got selected as an infielder. Bobby Witt Jr. also got selected. Byron Buxton, as we alluded to. Julio Rodriguez is in there as well from the American League. Some of the starting pitchers of note, no surprise here. Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. Dude won the Triple Crown for pitching last year. Not a surprise there. Max Fried for the Yankees got selected. Listen, Aaron Boone is the manager of the American League All-Star team because, well, he was the American League manager in the World Series. I'm just saying, Max Fried having a stellar season this year would make all the sense in the world to start him if the schedule and all that aligns up, because obviously, you know, and if he pitches a couple days before, it might not happen.
Hope they all like analytics.
Yeah.
That's what
you ain't wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he gonna whip out the graph there?
I just want to see him do the pickoff move. It'd be incredible.
Yeah.
And then for the National League, some of the notable reserves you've got there. Pete Alonso of the Mets is there. Ellie De La Cruz is there as well. Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Congratulations to him. Fernando Tatis Jr. is there as well. Kyle Schwarber made it as the DH for the Philadelphia Phillies. Noticeably absent, some 15-year, $800 million man. No, I'm not saying he might not show up if somebody gets injured or backs out or whatever. They could possibly nominate him. But then again, the Dave Roberts, the manager of the LA Dodgers, is the manager of the National League team. So I wouldn't expect him to pick somebody from the Mets. I'd expect him to pick somebody from the Dodgers maybe. But as we currently record, Juan Soto, not an all-star.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go near him.
Probably not.
I think they're going to leave him alone. I don't think he wants any of that spotlight. That the man making the most expensive contract in baseball did not make the vote.
Yeah.
I mean, that's headlines. They'll dominate the New York press. But in the meantime, which, I mean, the All-Star, it's crazy to think the season's half over now.
Yeah. And then some of the notable pitchers for the National League, which I got to admit, the National League pitchers scare the shit out of me. Because, good God, listen to some of these names. So he was not selected by the fans. He was selected by the commissioner as part of his legend pick. It's something they came out with a couple of years ago. If the commissioner so chooses, he can select one or two players to go to the All-Star game, as a legend for everything they've done for the game. And he chose Dodgers pitcher Clayton Kershaw.
That makes sense.
But some of the other notable names, some dude named Chris Sale. You might have heard him. Some dude named Zach Wheeler. I don't know. You might have heard of the name. Logan Webb of the San Francisco Giants. Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Dodgers. Paul Skeens.
Future Yankee.
I hope so. So, yeah, no, the National League starting pitchers scare the shit out of me because that is deep. Freddie Peralta's there from Milwaukee Brewers. He's having a great year. Good Lord. Just want to mention one of the notable snubs that, listen, even Cardinals fans I saw online saying he was snubbed. Seiya Suzuki, the Chicago Cubs.
He should have got in.
Should have got in.
He should have.
Just saying. But yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for that next Tuesday when the All-Star game takes place. Because while the Home Run Derby might not be fun, the All-Star game should.
The All-Star game should be a lot of fun. It just depends on how they want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the whole thing. It's an exhibition. It's supposed to have fun. They
Yeah.
still got the World Series home field advantage on the line.
No.
They finally took that away.
They got rid of that a couple years ago, so now the game is just for funsies.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. As long as they're putting on a show for the fans, that's what matters.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's an extended vacation. Some arms can heal up for the pitching, and obviously the Yankees can
fire their entire bullpen.
Yeah, they can kind of do that. I mean, granted, the sky is not falling for any Yankee fans. We're only 3.5 back.
Yeah.
That's nothing to think about at this stage. So.
And then lastly, and certainly not leastly, some unfortunate news, especially for me as a Liverpool FC fan, and that was the news that came down super early here on stateside, just about 5 a.m. Eastern on Thursday last week, was Liverpool and Portugal forward Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva were killed in a car crash in Spain, according to police on Thursday. News greatly affected both the Liverpool fan base and soccer across the globe. With the news, you had the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo putting out a statement saying, quote, "Doesn't make any sense. Just now we were together in the national team. Just now you were married. To your family, to your wife and children, I send my condolences and wish them all the strength in the world. I know you will always be with them. R.I.P. Diogo and Andre, we will all miss you." LeBron James, who's actually a part owner of Liverpool FC, did put out a statement saying, "My prayers go out to his loved ones and during this time. May you all be guided and protected. You never walk alone, Jota," with some prayer emojis and a heart. His former manager, Jurgen Klopp, did put out a statement on Instagram saying, quote, "This is a moment where I struggle. There must be a bigger purpose, but I can't see it. I'm heartbroken to hear about the passing of Diogo and his brother Andre. Diogo was not only a fantastic player, but a great friend, a loving and caring husband and father. We will miss you so much. All my prayers, thoughts, and power to Root, the kids, the family, the friends, and everyone who loved them. Rest in peace. Love, Jay." So that's just some of the stuff I saw put out. I know Lionel Messi put out a thing. All of the clubs from the English Premier League put out something. Just outpouring across the entire globe, which is, I know the Prince William and Kate put out a statement. It just goes to show how much of an impact, he made across the world with his play. I mean, you talk about the time he was having in his career young. He was in his mid to late 20s. He had just won the Premier League with Liverpool. 2 months ago, a month ago, he won, a tournament with Portugal and playing with, Ronaldo. Then he turned around and married his childhood sweetheart, and then 10 days later was killed in the accident. And so just unfortunate news. So definitely thoughts, prayers, and well wishes go out to his friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a horrible tragedy and
just devastating.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't understand kind of how much of an impact it had, if you're a hockey fan and you think of the Gaudreau brothers, similar type of thing.
Yeah, it definitely has an eerie aura around it. So obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, friends, and fans all over the world. Just an absolute tragedy.
Yeah.
And then to finish out the show, though, we are going to be talking a little bit about a movie that's coming out in theaters this week. Obviously, this is kind of a big one, so we kind of said we're going to do one last segment for last year. And we are going to be talking about Superman. So the James Gunn directed film is heading to the big screen finally. There are some early reviews out.
I am dodging them like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix.
Yeah, but I've actually caught a couple, spoiler free, and the consensus is we're looking at a big win on our hands.
So the only thing I've seen is that it is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, but taking a look at the cast, we have relative unknowns for the most part.
Yeah, a couple names.
But ones that definitely I think are going to be household names after this weekend.
Absolutely. So obviously playing the title role of Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman, David Cornsweet. Playing the role of Lois Lane is going to be Rachel Brosnahan. Playing the role of one Lex Luthor, Nicholas Holt. Boy, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that one. Saw he was on the red carpet, blue carpet, whatever it was for the premiere with my favorite Lex, Michael Rosenbaum.
Yep.
Playing the role of Mr. Terrific, a.k.a. Michael Holt, is Edie Gathegi. Playing the role of Metamorpho, a.k.a. Rex Mason, is Anthony Kerrigan. Playing the role of everyone's favorite Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. The incomparable Nathan Fillion. And then lastly, certainly not leastly, playing the role of Hawkgirl, a.k.a. Kendra Saunders, Isabella Merst.
So this one obviously has got a lot of pop culture watching it right now, and rightfully
Yeah.
so, because we knew when this was getting transitioned over to James Gunn and Peter Safran in August of 2022, this was the big bullseye that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one that, if you're going to do anything DC Comics-wise, this is the one you can't afford to miss.
It's also the first solo Superman movie in 12 years.
Yeah,
Which is wild.
Well, you have to think about it. Over the course of time, Superman obviously is the franchise of DC Comics.
Yep.
We've seen every single iteration of him pop up from the Snyderverse, and Zack Snyder's a little more darker portrayal with Henry Cavill in the lead. We've seen everything on the small screen, and obviously the iconic Christopher Reeves from the 70s. So, I mean, we've had a good gauge to see. But when you're starting an extended universe, you have to nail the main characters.
Yep.
Gunn understands this better than anybody. Obviously, his time with Marvel and the MCU, he has learned under Kevin Feige. He understands about how to set this up and really build a universe. And if you're going to do this a la Marvel and you're going to deep dive into a shared universe, Gunn is probably one of the safest people you can do this with. He understands about what this comes with it, and obviously knowing the impact of Superman. Like, you can't afford to miss on this. And going by the trailers that we've seen, the trailers seem to capture that Christopher Reeves magic, but it's modernized. And there's one comic series that is jumping out at me when I'm watching this. And I did an article on Nerd Initiative about the stories that are influencing this movie. The impact of All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely you can see it all over this film. So
I was saying there was an entire category on Jeopardy the other night that was DC Universe with James Gunn. And he talked about how All-Star Superman was such an influence on this movie.
Ultimate Superman is
All-Star Superman.
Yeah, All-Star Superman is one of the greatest Superman stories of all time.
It's a fantastic animated film too, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely captures everything you know about Superman. I am curious of how much they're going to be adapting to it, though.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll adapt the ending.
No.
If you know, you know.
No.
I'm just going to leave it like that. But I think to capture that symbol of hope that I think right now in society we absolutely need.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
I think that this is probably the perfect time for this movie to come out. And obviously with Corn Sweat being a relative unknown, same thing with Bershanan. Like I say, this is a perfect time to reestablish that universe because it's not like you're coming in and you grab the Robert Downey Jr. to play the role.
Right.
Even though I'm sure he could play an amazing Clark Kent.
Absolutely.
Let's face it. You're going in with unknowns, and you're really trying to establish this is a separate universe. This is going to be your own legacy. Because, like, if this film flops, which I can't see it doing.
Tracking last I saw for a $200 million opening weekend.
Yeah. This is going to be what reignites the DC film universe. And then whatever we get after that for Under the Watch of Gunn and Safran, this is going to be the benchmark they do. Because if you nail this, and like I said, the early spoiler-free reviews that have come out have said amazing things about this film.
That's good.
And I tend to believe the sources I go to.
Okay.
I'm not going to say everybody here on the podcast, but let me just say this. There are a few people I go to when they have early screenings like this.
Sure.
I have seen very, very good responses to it.
That's
and
good.
they've been very honest about it. And where I think we go with this is obviously you're going to get a little blend of the traditional Christopher Reeves with this,
Which is good.
but you're also going to get a little bit of that Kevin Smith quirkiness.
Oh, okay.
Because let's face it, in this film, you named 4 characters
Yep.
that we have never seen in a DC live action film.
Right. Well, and plus the other thing I like with this is Gunn has gone on record and said, we don't need to see him showing up on Earth again. We don't need to see the pearls falling to the ground in Gotham City again. So Superman won't be totally established, but he'll be, not an unknown.
No, it'll definitely be just pick up and go.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. Because
I'm sorry, at this point, if you don't know who Superman is, and the character itself has been around for how long at this point, and the movies have been going since the 70s, I can't help you.
well, the only thing is if you're a young child.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. But at the same token, there's enough comic interpretations to do. In fact, one that James Gunn put on Threads a few months back, and somebody asked him about like what stories are you influenced with. Superman for All Seasons is one of them, which we're actually covering this week on Turn a Page. That is going to be a story that, listen, that sums up everything you need to know about his debut from Smallville to Metropolis.
Right.
If you go and deep dive into stuff like that, you'll pick up right along. But I think James Gunn is very quick. Like, I wouldn't doubt we see something very fast to say, like, hey, here we are, and then go.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I love that he's done is he's really deep dived into the DCU lore.
Yes.
I mean, the fact Guy Gardner's going to make an appearance.
Yeah, no kidding. Not my first pick for a Green Lantern, but you know what? I'm all for it.
I'm all for it. Hawkgirl.
Yeah.
Metamorpho.
Yeah.
Like, these are not exactly
It's not exactly Brainiac.
household
Brainiac.
names. Yeah.
It's not Brainiac and Doomsday.
Yeah. And then what interpretation they're going to do with this Justice League or whatever they're going to be defined as is going to be anybody's guess as well, because we do know that Maxwell Lord was recast. That's Sean Gunn.
Right.
And if you know anything about Maxwell Lord's history, minus Wonder Woman 1984,
Yeah.
throw that out the window.
Yep.
What you see in the comics, I have a couple different ideas he's going with. But the thing is, to get back to the main point, Gunn understands the universe. He understands the fan base. And especially if you understand the comic fan base, you know how to appease them. And as long as you're attempting to drive that point home while also reaching out to the pop culture audience and walking the fine line between both, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And that's all they need to do. And then however the story plays out, because like I say, we don't have a clear-cut idea who the villain is other than Lex Luthor.
Right.
And what's it tied to, that you can speculate all you want about
Yes.
a few of the characters in there.
Yes.
I know we talked about there's the Ultraman, because as what's been
Yep.
said in the toys,
Yeah.
I don't feel that's a spoiler. But it depends on who's behind the mask.
Right.
And we even teased that it might be Ulysses, which is a deep cut from a Jeff Johns and John Romita Jr. story, also done on Turner Page. So where this is going with, I hope this film really just nails the hope aspect.
Absolutely. I do too.
Because if you don't nail that, everything else is nice bells and whistles.
Yeah.
But you need the main driver of Superman. That when you see him flying in the sky, it gives the public the sense that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that is what we need right now.
Absolutely. Gosh darn Lily.
So I have very, very high hopes for this film.
I do too, yeah.
And we'll already kill the lead for next week. We will be devoting the entire entertainment edition breaking this down.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. One thing we should mention too, there is a Christopher Reeve connection in this film, and that is his son Will Reeve, who works for ABC News, is going to be making an appearance in the film. So I love that connection. I've got high expectations for this movie because I don't think it's anybody. I don't think it's any secret to anybody listening to the show. I've said it before. Superman is my favorite superhero. I first loved Batman when I got introduced to Batman, the animated series on television. I discovered the Adam West television series not long after that. But then once Batman went on that little hiatus and they switched over to Superman, I fell in love with Superman. You know, I remember vividly going on vacation to Delaware when I was a kid and going to a local bookstore. And rather than, my parents were like, we'll buy you anything you want in the store, any book you want. You know, you pick something out, we'll buy it for you. I'm walking around, I couldn't find anything. I found a little turnstile by the front desk that had some comics on there. Saw an issue of Superman that was on there. I don't know if it was recent. I don't know if it was reissue. I don't know what it was. I just knew it was Superman, and I went, I want that. And because it was such a low price, because it was a comic, they're like, you know what? Okay, we'll buy you two. So my parents bought me 2 issues of Superman. It's been my favorite ever since. You know, I've got high expectations for this, and I fully trust James Gunn to get everything right with this film and set off the universe on an adventure that's going to be one heck of a ride.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, too. I mean, Superman is the ultimate Boy Scout, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age where the anti-hero has kind of taken over and been more cool, it's like you seem to forget what the basics of superheroes is all about. Superman has been one of the benchmarks for over 80 years and still reigns true to this day.
Yep.
And as long as the creators in the comics or in TV shows follow suit and capture that, and especially with the movies, you see that influence, and that's what will always connect and make him a timeless character.
Yes.
So there's a plenty of excitement to be had with this film. If you are excited about this, keep that excitement no matter what. I understand we live in a very weird digital age where it's cool to just hate everything for no reason.
Yeah.
But as we've discussed, if you loved Ironheart, go heavy in the paint for Ironheart. If you love Superman, go heavy in the paint for Superman. If you're excited about Fantastic Four, 2 weeks, go heavy for it. Because it's a time to celebrate the fandoms, and it's time to celebrate classic characters getting their shine, and especially in this case, to see a new Superman come here with the expectations that are deep dive into the comic audience and the pop culture audience There's a lot of enjoyment to be had, and from the early reviews I've heard, like I say, I trust my people I go to.
Yeah.
We're in for a hell of a ride with 2 bonus scenes
Ooh, all right.
going on this weekend.
All right.
So keep that in mind as you're going to the theaters, and obviously hit us up on the hashtag next week because we'll definitely be talking about that for the entertainment edition. That all said, Pad, that's all we got. So for anything and everything, this is the ODPH. You can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for this week. So for the one and only Padawanje,
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.